I'm really excited to have you here because you have a lot of experience with cloud modernization, with projects that were driving revenue in fintech companies. So why don't you tell us, based on your experience, what is the number one mistake that companies make related to transformation and digitization?
Yeah, I'd say really number one mistake is jumping right into solution or the how or and the what and not so much the why. So it really always starts with the why, the business impact value, where are the opportunities, where are the pain points, and prioritization and charting out a roadmap that's really aligned to those requirements and challenges and opportunities and addressing it accordingly. So that'll really drive whether you need to do a start off with a lift and shift or a complete modernization, or when to get into modernization or potential rewrite or re-architecture of the application, let alone the data environments. But it always comes back to first and foremost requirements, why, and really championing the voice of the customer, both for internal and external stakeholders, and really being able to understand and represent that.
So now when you talk about the stakeholders, it must be really difficult and challenging to get everyone on board when it comes to modernization. So what's your best strategy? How do you get everyone to see this as an important initiative and eventually get everyone on board?
Yeah, it's really painting that full picture and representing it, being able to engage and collaborate and foster those relationships first and foremost with those stakeholders. Establish yourself as a partner. This is something I've done, most recently at a fintech company that I was a CTO at, let alone other companies that I've been CTO and advised at. But establishing those relationships, really being able to relate how this modernization is going to impact them and the teams or stakeholders that they represent, and making it relatable to them and tangible to them, not getting lost in the technical jargon or the bells and whistles, but really what is the customer journey for themselves, the folks that they represent, and what's the outcome and delivery ultimately going to look like, and how it really is going to be beneficial to them.
And now, when some people are listening to this podcast, they may think that modernization means upgrades of some systems, IT systems, or upgrading to a new version of SAP or whatever. But based on your experience, what does it really mean to modernize? How can modernization drive revenue in a fintech company?
Yeah, to me, it's really about establishing that solid foundation, being able to recognize where are the critical constraints that are preventing you from having the flexibility and scalability to deliver upon not only your needed operational efficiencies today, but to create this foundation that you can truly build upon it, whatever your business or new marketplace demands are, for innovation, transformation, new capabilities. So you're not, you're no longer being able to be constrained by the challenges, or not being able to fully deliver and execute on the opportunities that you have. So, for example, most recently the fintech that I was leading, I joined when really COVID was just we were focused on providing financial lending to the SMB marketplace. So as you would imagine, during COVID shutdown, there really wasn't that much demand for these SMBs and new capital. But certainly once these SMBs were opening up again, there was a tremendous demand for capital that the banks weren't able to deliver to them, at least not in the time they needed, because either there was risk profile, didn't match, or it would take traditional banks, as it does, weeks to months to provide this capital. Company I worked at was able to provide this capital within 24 to 72 hours. Tremendous amount of demand. But the environment I walked into was a skeletal crew of folks. There really was an environment that couldn't really meet the full demand and scalability of what we were experiencing at that time. So I need to quickly work with the stakeholders, assess, and work towards initially a lift and shift from some antiquated colo environment to a modernized cloud environment, and then embark on an 18-month successful journey to completely re-platform, modernize the application, the data transformation, and really break it down so that we had these very modular, microservices, components, APIs, increased security, integration of data, all of that really provided us that foundation to meet the existing, critical demand, as well as, enable new customer journeys, innovation, strategic partnerships, all of that great stuff that we weren't able to achieve under the legacy platform. So it's really, to me, modernization, again, is about assessing and understanding what's holding you back, what are the constraints, where are there critical pain points, and how do you best address those, meet the critical requirements, and have that foundation that you have operational efficiency, but a platform for innovation and new capabilities.
Mm. And now, when you say this, I'm kind of thinking about some of the managers who still see IT as the cost center, and they may not see these opportunities that you are describing. And I'm probably reading somewhere between the lines, but you see IT as the opportunity to increase the revenue of the company, of the startup or scale up or software as a service, a fintech company. So, what are some ways to go from being the cost center to driving revenues in a startup company?
Yeah, well, to me, it always starts with relationships, right? Fostering and building those relationships, understanding the business, understanding the business stakeholders, and being a true strategic partner, right? It's not, I'm not a CTO who is, one to focus on keeping the lights on, or, cost reduction. Sure, that's table stakes. Operational efficiencies, leveraging even things like today, AI and RPA to achieve new operational efficiencies. But from my perspective, it's about, working and being not that cost center and not just an enabler, but a strategic partner, someone that can really work with the different business stakeholders and identify, opportunities to really drive new revenue growth, new capabilities, collaborate, foster that culture. I'm a big believer in the mantra, culture eats strategy for breakfast. I don't care how good your business strategy is. If you don't have the right culture and getting people to believe in that mindset and embrace that mindset of, collaboration, continuous improvement, innovation, and especially these days, if you're not looking to disrupt the marketplace, you can be assured that someone's going to come along and disrupt you. And you need to be able to be that strategic partner to collaborate with those stakeholders effectively to do that. In previous organization I was involved, I looked at how our data could really be that much more of a strategic asset, and how do we unlock that, and how do we monetize that data in new ways, create this sort of new subscription service around our data, giving critical insight to some very large external clients and customers to be able to subscribe and leverage that data in a way that we weren't offering it previously.
Yeah, awesome. And while you were modernizing in these fintech companies, you also worked with engineering teams, hands-on, smaller teams and large teams and departments. So, what are some of your biggest takeaways from managing these engineering teams, especially now when people want to work remotely? Some companies pull people back to the office. What's your strategy? What worked best for you?
Yeah, really, again, understanding what's the culture and the objectives of the organization and the targets, where there are gaps, and how do we address that from a people and technology and a process perspective, developing these engineering teams, coming up with the right, onshore, offshore, and contractor, mix of resources. My philosophy and approach is you have to be flexible around that. And even the build and buy, decisions, I've seen time and time again, CTOs, other leaders that kind of focus on, oh, I want to, deliver on what excites me, or what's the newest and shiniest trend, or or how I've done something in the past. I approach it very much more so from, really understanding what's best fit, for meeting and enabling short-term and long-term the strategic objectives of the organization, making sure there's alignment and addressing those gaps. And as part of building those dev engineering teams is looking at the dev engineering team and the resourcing, what's our skills that we have in place today, the different roles, and where are the gaps in terms of aligning, enabling, and being able to be that high performance team to deliver upon those and if anything, exceeding those strategic objectives, and being able to be sure that it's a team that's truly scalable and flexible, right? And that's where I really see offshore and contractors coming to play to certainly deliver effectively on that scalability or flexibility, or very specific niche projects of subject matter expertise. But the core subject matter expertise around business knowledge, processes, and the systems themselves, I'm a big believer of that being in-house, establishing that high-performance technology team, again, embracing that culture, having a constant cadence of candid, feedback, coaching, and mentoring, and working with that team, including upskilling and coming up with that right upskilling strategy for any existing resources that might have gaps in terms of skills that are needed to be able to effectively deliver on those strategic objectives.
Awesome. Well, you clearly have a great understanding of the, how to build the high performing team. So now the question really is, how does AI fit into this when it comes to helping developers, but also disrupting fintech companies? So based on your experience, how does AI fit into all of this?
Yeah, it's really recognizing and leveraging AI for that augmentation, right? And combining AI and robotic process automation for, achieving, and accelerating and having operational efficiencies and effectively. So what, certainly looking at it from a developer perspective, where and what ways can we leverage AI to accelerate, augment, and improve code development quality. So we're focusing more on the logic, the business rules, the business processes. And then certainly from a quality assurance perspective, a very ripe, use case for leveraging AI to help generate those unit test cases, help automate automation scripts and development of for quality assurance, accelerating and improving quality assurance, for example, and then leveraging AI for things, especially in terms of advanced analytics and training. So again, did that recently at a fintech company. We're able to bring our data in-house for marketing that was externally. We're able to lower our cost of acquisition as a result, improve that quality, being able to improve underwriting, and work towards more automated and improved underwriting contextual information, new sources of information analysis, and improving, going beyond more of that traditional underwriting decisioning, new risk score models, things of that nature. And when you look at a lot of different financial companies and where they're very transaction oriented, and being able to leverage AI to, again, unlock and remove a number of constraints and go below the surface of information, and be able to provide, key insights and new discovery that allows, to really unlock the potential and improvement of different type of fintech transactions is really a critical sweet spot, and goes well beyond a lot of where you hear AI today in terms of generative content and things like that. That's low-hanging fruit, some initial value, but it's really when you start getting into how it's going to really improve, augment, and allow your resources to be truly much more strategically focused and valuable, and for your actual business processes and your decisioning to be much more informed and improved, is where it really delivers the bang for the buck.
Well, and speaking of bucks, I'm kind of thinking about a CFO in a fintech company, and I'm kind of wondering, is there any low-hanging fruit that you would suggest to a CFO of a say a standard generic startup or scale up company, based on your experience, is there anything that a CFO should know or consider when scaling a company based on your experience working with other fintech companies? Kind of, is there anything that should not be overlooked?
Well, one, there's often a lot of low-hanging fruit from an operational efficiency perspective. Look at where there are those, repeatable processes and a lot of manual tasks and activities. I've made some of my best friends in accounting, for example, and in finance because of the quick wins I was able to implement to automate and give their life back and more meaning and value so they could be free up and say, I never want to do that Monday task again. I never want to extract that information from this email and input it into this accounting system or this financial system, have that all automated so that they can be, refocused and be that much more, enjoyable and high morale and value from their perspective, and then build upon those wins and get into more complex scenarios and get into more advanced analytics in terms of the finances and revenue opportunities. That's where you can really get a lot of value and success with CFOs.
Yeah. Well, that's a great one. What about revenues on the other side? We were already discussing some strategies. Like if you were talking to a chief revenue officer in a fintech company, and some are probably listening to you right now. So based on your experience, so what is some low hanging fruit? Like how can startup in the fintech ecosystem today, as of 2024, realize some quick wins when it comes to increasing their revenues?
Well, I'd say to really be in a position, and especially as we're talking about modernization and transformation today, it starts with data, right? And making sure that you're properly addressing your data, that you have, true data quality. So, a lot of these things fail because initiatives, especially on the revenue side, because the data isn't at the quality level that they need it. That means, the integration of data, the data quality, the aggregation of data. So this is something I've done at multiple organizations and advised, multiple folks. And once you have that, and you have I've put in place data lake houses and business intelligence, new analytics that really lower the cost of acquisition for customers, and also unlocks key analytics and enable. And the only way you're going to enable those new analytics to drive new revenue is by having quality data. So really having that proper data, modernized and transformed, well integrated single source of authoritative data, coupled with business intelligence that can be self-serving to key business stakeholders, both internal and external, and then looking at how you can apply things like AI and machine learning for some of the advanced analytics on top of that, that will give you those key insights for, towards new products, new revenue streams, things of that nature. That's really a critical approach towards success.
Well, it's just so cool that we are talking about the revenues and costs, profitability. As you are the CTO, right? We are not talking about technology at all. And some CTOs who are listening to us now, they may think, what's going on? How come we are not talking about technology? So based on your experience, what would you suggest to CTOs who are listening to this when it comes to the difference between technology and the business acumen and understanding of the business side? How important is it for someone like you, for a CTO or a CIO?
Oh, it's critical, as we were touching upon, and earlier in this conversation, is it's about being an effective partner, right, and not just some sort of enabler, right? You're not going to be in today's environment. You're not going to be a truly successful CTO if you're just focused on the from a technology perspective. You really need to understand the business. You really need to be able to be that bridge that and represent the business side, equally, if not more so, with the technology side. That's what's going to allow you to be able to not only challenge yourself, but the team and the folks that you lead to properly assess and come up with the right fit, the right technology solutions accordingly. And again, comes back to what I was saying earlier as well about the why and the business impact value and understanding that. But then being able to assess, what's the right fit from a technology platform environment, a people environment, a process environment, making sure there's alignment and those right solutions and evaluating those right technologies and not just doing what you've done before or getting caught up on what's the shiniest or latest or new trend in technology perspective.
Interesting. Well, there is a lot that we could talk about when it comes to fintech and scaling those companies, but also your time is limited. And I'm thinking, what's the major takeaway now before we wrap it up? What, based on your experience, is one thing that you would like everyone who works in a fintech company to know?
Again, it comes back to that being that true partner, being that true collaborator, championing of the voice, internal and external stakeholders, and and really the why and focusing on that before getting into the what and the how, and then making sure that what and how is really aligned accordingly and is best fit, and that you're looking at the technology solutions to enable it, aligned accordingly based upon that why and your true partnership and understanding and representation of the business side, the business strategy, objectives, the targets, the processes, and being as immersed and a true representative of the business, even more so than the technology itself.
Very cool. Awesome. So if people would like to connect with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can certainly find me, Kevin Ruthen on LinkedIn, and encourage you to connect with me on there. And other than that, you can reach me at my email at kevin@kevin.ruthen.com.
Awesome. Great. I'll include the links in the show notes. So thanks a lot for sharing all these insights. And yeah, I hope to see you soon again.
Oh, it's fantastic talking to you, and look forward to connecting with a bunch of fellow technology folks and business folks out there, and collaborating with them on exciting new initiatives.
Awesome. Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you.